Alrighty, so today I want to talk about the Ultimate Clash, the special Ultimate Clash for the 2024 Worldwide Download Celebration, specifically the second part of it. I meant to do a guide on this a little bit earlier, but the video ended up being so long because, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I figured that it would be just better to kind of redo this and give you guys an all-in-all more encompassing guide for the battlefield. So yesterday when I was doing Zero to Hero, I realized that my mic was a little too loud, so I'm going to test this back when I'm listening to it, but let me know in the comments how this sounds. Am I too loud? Am I too quiet? Just from your opinion, from the viewer, I just got to be able to hear it because, I'm very self-conscious about my audio. But that's not what you guys are here for, to listen to me yap about my microphone. What you're here for is the guide for the Ultimate Clash. Now, this is actually a unique Ultimate Clash that we have not seen before. The way that this one is formatted is much different from the typical ones. Usually it's about 3 levels with varying bosses. This one is just 1 level with 2 fights. So with that in consideration, what we want to do is bring 2 of our best teams and just use those and call it quits, right? So how are we going to be able to go about that? Now, there's 2 ways that we could do this, right? One way is we're going to make this team, by the way, is we're going to make like a superheroes team, and then we'd make like a movie bosses team, right? That's what I did on the JP, but for the sake of making this more viewer relatable, we're going to use the global as well. I know, Rainbow Beast, I know, but I promise it doesn't matter. It's 55%, he's still enough. But here's what I want to do. I want to set up 2 teams that are going to work out very well together, and it's going to be easy to set up. So what we're going to do first is look at our super bosses team. Right? With super bosses, this is the team that we are going to be using against Paragus. Now, I feel like a lot of my viewers re-rolled or have new accounts, and they started back during the 9th anniversary, so super bosses is probably a team that they have invested to at this point, with Broly being the starting unit. So what do we want to do here? We just want to pick our best super boss units, and we are going to have our first team done. So let's use, who do I want to use? We'll go Super Easy Goku Black. So now we have our Super Bosses team for level 1. Now, what we want to build is our Superheroes team, or Fight 2. Why are we doing Superheroes, you may be asking? Well, it's the best team in the game. So what we want to do is use the Gamma's leader, we want to use the Beast Gohan leader, and then we want to use UI Goku, Evolution Blue Vegeta, and then we need 2 more characters. We will go with Gogeta, and then last but not least, we will go with Evokai. So now we have 2 teams. Now, for the sake of making sure that we bring a lot more characters, I also want to build a team that's going to help us with the new Broly as well as Gohan. So what do we want to do? I want to build like a Super Saiyan setup. So for Super Saiyans, we're going to use you. We're going to bring you, 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 and then we'll bring you. So now we have a backup team just in case we need it. And then we can also bring some other characters that we have in here, just in case we need reserves, right? We can kind of make a setup that's going to work just fine. So I think with that, we should be good to go in. That's the beauty of this one. It's literally 2 fights. So what I'm going to do now is just press the auto button so we select as many characters as we can have. And now we are going to just go in. So like I said, the first team we're going to be using is Super Bosses for the first fight here. So we want to go down to Super Bosses, and then it's going to auto-select some of my characters, but here's how we want to set it up. Super Boss Lead, Super Boss Lead, Super Bosses, and then those are the units that we want to bring. We're going to go in, we're going to have a swell time. So what I'll do, this Paragus isn't really doing anything special. You want to just treat this like a traditional hard fight. We're going to put Goku or Zamasu in the first slot, as he is going to be able to, have his 80% damage reduction that he has from the start, and we should be good to go. Now, Topo, in this specific instance, is not going to be in his best situation, but again, for the sake of this run, it will work out. So this Paragus fight, again, is pretty standard, so I will be back when we are done with this fight so we can talk about the meat and potatoes of this actual battlefield run. Okay, so for the sake of condensing this video, we are going to cut, even though it was only 2 turns, I'm just going to, speed that up anyway. So Broly's going to deliver the finishing blow to Paragus here, and then we are going to move on to the next fight, and then I'm going to explain everything you need to know and why this fight is different from a normal Battlefield fight. So keep in mind, this is going to be a long fight, and typically with Battlefield, the way that this has worked in years past is, like I said, it's multiple levels, and we want to focus on type advantage. Now, like I said, you're going to see this Broly smirking at you, right? Because he knows the BS he's about to put you through. But usually what you'd want to do is use your int team, right? Because that's the traditional Battlefield experience. But with the case of this character right here, that is not going to be, or this fight in specific, that is not going to be the case. This fight in specific has 9 phases. So 3 phases for each Broly movie that all end in the legendary Super Saiyan version of that fight. Now, this fight has like a hump that you need to get over, and then once we're over that hump, it's going to be pretty smooth sailing. I accidentally hit my monitor, but everything is okay. But like I said, pretty smooth sailing once we get out of the 3rd phase. Now, you might be asking, why is the 3rd phase so difficult? I'm glad you asked, because the 3rd phase, why that is so specific or tricky and specific is the fact that it has an AoE super. And if you guys don't know, AoE supers are some of the most toxic things that a boss can do, right? I think when it comes to like power rankings for most toxic things, number 1 is locking, number 2 is AoE supers, maybe number 2 is like sealing or stunning, right? But you guys get the idea. An AoE super is going to be tricky because there are multiple units on this team that are going to be susceptible to an AoE super. Now, the biggest suspects of this are going to be Evo Ken as well as Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. So rather than cutting and kind of breaking all of this up into separate sections, I want to stay with you so we can kind of explain the process that we want to go through in order to avoid taking the, mitigating the risk of where the AoE characters could potentially be in trouble, right? So what we want to do is just start this fight like we normally would, try and get as much ki as possible for our characters and continue to go, right? I think the 24 ki there with both Evo Ken as well as UI Goku is going to be very important. Hopefully UI Goku dodges this perfect. And that's going to be all well and good for us, right? But why am I saying we need to strategically think about this? Because when we are going through all of this, we are going to float off the characters that potentially could get caught by the AoE super. So now the next time that we're going to be seeing Evo Ken is going to be turn 4. Now, if we one-turn both of these phases, we're not going to be seeing Evo Ken on the next time we see them, right? So right now, it's looking like we're not going to one-turn this phase, so there is a chance that we get Evo Ken on the AoE super. But the way that we can kind of negate that, it's going to be tricky, right? But UI Goku with a good start here. Hopefully Evolution Blue Vegeta does do like a triple super, triple crit, and then we could really be in business here, right? So again, oh, perfect. Yeah, if he triple supers, we're definitely getting out of here. But that is definitely what you want to do. We want to try and make sure that we have as little, the least amount of turns with the Gammas as well as Evo Ken on rotation as possible, because that is going to help us avoid the AoE super just ending our run on the first go, right? So that's kind of the whole thing that we're aiming to do. So now we don't have to worry about Evo Ken allegedly. So again, this is a perfect start because we can float off the Gammas as well. So if this turn goes the way we want it to, Beast Gohan being supported the way he is going to be helpful. We're going to get the 24 ki on everybody here, and it's going to be a party, right? So 24 ki for everybody after Beast Gohan gets the support in, and we should be looking good. He's going to get a bunch of hits in. I forget, does this stun? No, it doesn't. So now his attack has been raised, and we're going to be in a good spot because everybody's going to be doing as much damage as possible, again, to minimize the risk of, Broly hitting us with that AoE super on a character that cannot take the AoE super, right? That's the big thing about this run. Because once we get out of this, it's pretty smooth sailing. Like, if I'm being honest, like, once we get out of that AoE super, it is a very traditional battlefield fight that this team is going to have no issues with going through. So Beast Gohan, he came to play today. You guys can see a triple super, triple crit. We're going to be doing a lot of damage. We are going to be in a good spot for this. So here we go. Is that half of his HP? It's over half of his HP. And now Gogeta, with these, again, the support of the Gammas, is going to be very good. So now the next turn that we're going to have is going to be Tech UI, Evolution Blue Vegeta, and AGL UI. And with that, again, we're not going to have any issues because AGL UI is going to have guaranteed dodging, so he's going to go into slot 1. We're going to put Tech UI into slot 2 for the linking, and then Evolution Blue Vegeta, we're going to float off. So when we see Evo Ken again, we're not going to have to worry about another super. Now, you might be saying, my team is not going to be doing this much damage. But that is okay because you don't even really need to, right? Because you don't have to have this done in 2 turns like the way that we did it here. You can still work around it, right? And if the AoE, if this strategy doesn't work for you, what we could potentially do is just build more teams that could go in. So like, if you're expecting to not get out of like the first phase or whatever, or you're expecting the AoE to get to the AoE super, and you are not going to be able to do enough damage, make sure that you do not use your best team first, right? I think if you, unfortunately, my movie boss's team is not up to snuff on global, so I can't really show that. But like, if I was on global, right, or if I was like a global main that had a movie boss's team, I would go in here with the movie boss's team first, and then try and take care of it with that, see how far I can go, and then when we get to the AoE super portion, we could potentially bring back out the superheroes team. So again, it might just take RNG, but you can kind of mix and match the teams the way you want to go, and you should be able to kind of set this up properly so it's going to look like this, right? Where this run so far, we haven't had any hiccups. We've been able to manage the AoE super up until this point. We aren't taking any damage. UI Goku did his thing, plenty of damage. Now, there is potential that we don't kill on this turn, I guess, and then with that, then we would kind of be in a little bit of trouble again with the Evoken being able to take an AoE super. And like I said, that's the hardest part of this whole thing. Like, if we can get through this phase, like once we get out of this phase, we have our rotation set up, we have what we need, we're ready to go. This is going to be a long sort of portion here, but we'll speed this up because it's going to be a very like normal fight moving forward once we get out of here. So I'll keep recording, we'll speed up the footage, and then when we get to the final phase, we'll unspeed it up, right? So keep that in mind once we get through this. You know, we're just dominating this phase right now. So this team is like, just bring your best team. That's the best advice I can give you, right? Bring your best team. Oh, don't over, like, keep the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. So there we go. We got through the AoE super. Now I'll just show you what the next phase is going to be. It's going to be base Broly, and then we're going to go into Super Saiyan Broly from Second Coming, and then we are going to transition into Legendary Super Saiyan from Second Coming. And then once we get out of there, we are going to move on to the Bio Broly portion where he goes Super Saiyan, and then he goes Legendary Super Saiyan, Bio Broly. It's kind of tough to tell, but like I said, in total, this is going to be a 9-phase fight. And with this fight being 9 phases, it's just going to take a while. So I'm going to keep recording, but we're going to speed up the footage now. And I will be back with potential important notes that you need to know, or once we get to the final phase. So I'll see you guys on the other side. Okay, so one quick thing I forgot to mention is the second Broly also has an AoE super, so my apologies on that. I somehow let that slip. So we do have a second phase of an AoE super, but again, we are going to be able to sort of work around this with the setup that we have here. The damage that we're going to be doing is fine, because we're going to have, at this point, we're on turn 6, right? We're pretty built up. Our characters are going to have a lot of damage, and we're going to be able to kind of move through this. But again, 2 phases of this, we just want to keep Evoken and the Gammas floated off, and this is not going to be an issue for us, because, you know, if we get like the triple crit special, which Evolution Blue Vegeta decided not to do, we shouldn't be in trouble. But again, it just comes down to where that's going to be. So again, this phase does have an AoE super, so please keep that in mind. I'm sorry, that was a little bit of an oversight on my part, but again, it shouldn't be too much of an issue, right? Because at this point, we've gotten our characters built up, we have dodging, we've transformed our characters, and we are going to be good to go. So keep that in mind. There is another phase with an AoE super. I'll be sure to note that when we go back and edit this. So there we go. I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so now we've made it to the final phase, as you guys can see. Phase 9. Now, what we're going to do here is we are going to use the Beast Gohan taunt and get that out of the way. And then we'll also be using the Evolution Blue Vegeta active skill, because we are simply running out of time to use said item, or said active skills. So we're going to grab these right here. We're going to use these, and then with Evoken, it doesn't really matter. We are actually going to be doing a ton of damage here with the Dokkan attack and all of those fun things. So I guess there is potential that Beast Gohan just says, like, this is over, like, just a Wadida, like, you know, 19 million here with the Dokkan attack and type advantage. It's going to be doing quite a bit of damage, so do keep that in mind, but we shall see. I'm thinking this is going to do quite a bit. And especially with, like, watch how much Evolution Blue Vegeta does as well if we do end up getting to that point, because it's going to be a lot. So there we have it, right? For this battlefield, it's a much more simple process. You just use your best team and you go to town, right? So 51 million right there for Beast Gohan, just doing his thing. And overall, it's going to work just fine. So again, I don't believe we used any of the new, like, 4 summonable LRs from the Worldwide Download Celebration. So again, this is not like a situation where it's like pull the units or don't play. You should be good to go either way. So do keep that in mind. Now, Evolution Blue Vegeta going to rip off a quick 26 million, and that should be all she wrote for this battlefield. So there we have it. Let's make sure that we do that before we do our outro. yeah, so this next super is going to be it. So like, again, there we go. So again, pretty stress-free. The only thing that kind of caught me off guard was I just forgot that the second legendary Super Saiyan Broly phase has an AoE super. So quick cliff notes on this. Phase 3, AoE super. Phase 6, AoE super. And then the last 3 phases are super easy. So again, there you guys go for this battlefield. A quick 15-minute fight, and we are all done. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, how to complete this one. You see, we only used 14 characters, and we were all good to go. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like if you found it informative, and all of those other fun things. Subscribe if you are new, as well as turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any of the Dokkan content we post. We are 400 subs away from 10,000, so hopefully we can get there soon, but if not, oh well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.